In Senegal, there's a major difference between men and women. The women are challenged through polygamy, social customs, an almost non-existent education, and an absent power. A novel that best describes this unfair relationship is through the novel So Long a Letter by Mariam Abba. The novel uses her personal experiences to help us understand the struggles of women in Islamic cultures. The novel is based upon Muslim Senegalese women, mainly in the mid-1900s till modern day, who strive to speak beyond the confines of the suffering voice. The rights of these Muslim women are unfair and intolerable, but, by the help of Mariam Abba, a permanent figure, she represents the importance and values of African women. Mariam Abba was born in Dakar, the capital of Senegal. She was born into a middle-class family where her father was one of the ministers of state. Her education was poor because it was believed women shouldn't be educated past middle school, leaving her in difficulty to find a job like most women in Senegal. Without an education, women struggled to find jobs that can support a family. The women are now forced to find jobs involving in food factories, textiles, managing village forestry resources, while doing most of the household duties. An example is a woman from Senegal, Annie Duoff.
The work is hard, long hours in the sun and rain, and often with little to show for it. With little faith in the government improving their lot, Annie and a few of her colleagues have taken matters into their own hands.
We got organized. We put together a women's association so we can stand by each other. We pool our profits together and give the money to one of the women on one day, and she buys the material for her stall. Then the next day, another woman goes out and does the same.
Annie Dioff and her friends are part of the 80% of active women who do not benefit from social services and work long hours in substandard and even dangerous conditions. The difficulties the women of Senegal experience is what influenced Mariam Abba to write So Long a Letter.
The book is written in the form of a letter from a widow, Ramatoulaye, to her childhood girlfriend who lives in the United States. This friend was a mirror for Mariam Abba, whose leading role was a strong-minded character. Moreover, she found support, friendship, and values from female confidence, unity, and harmony. The unfair use of power forces Ramatoulaye to deal with its consequences. This unfair power is presented in the novel as a form of male domination coming from society's structure of male-controlled ideology. Because Ramatoulaye is a woman, she seemingly has no right determining her destiny. But her friend rejects this notion and chooses her own life without her husband's say. Polygamy was a main issue presented in the novel. It gives women a sense of inequality, degrading, unfairness, and going unnoticed. But what exactly is polygamy? It is simply a man who is married to one wife, living with them at the same time. So what's the man's excuse? A polygamous man, Fudu, gives us his.
There were several underlying reasons that led me to decide to take a second wife. There are times when the first wife gets sick, or for example, when she gave birth. You can't sleep with her for at least a year and a half in case she gets pregnant again. What do I do then? I'm not an adulterer, and I don't want to become one. The second reason is love, which for me is also very important. And yes, there's something of love in this decision.
If a man of a certain age takes a second wife, the friends his own age will too. Men are like that. They feel inferior if they don't have the same thing as the man next to them.
Mariam Abba defended women's rights. Her contribution to fighting for women's rights is significant because she explained and described the disadvantaged position of women in general and especially married women. Fudu's first wife explains to us how she feels.
Furu began to get dressed up when he came home from work and spent more time away from home than before. I asked him about it, and he always told me he was at a friend's house. But in the village, people said that he was looking for a second wife. When he spoke to me directly, I told him, fine, that's okay. If it really is for the good of the family and for your happiness, it's fine. But you have to accept one condition. I don't want her to become your favorite and take my place.
See is the perfect example why Mariam Abba uses her novel to recognize and give women the awareness that they are worth more than what they think. Men in their culture believe they have the authority over women. She felt African people should reduce the toxic impact of their culture. Women are embarked both emotionally and financially in a sensual tolerance and complete lack of regard for the consequences of men's actions on families. They are completely blind. These facts led Ba to believe in her mission to expose and critique this method to justify women's rights. The United Committee of the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women once said, "Polygamous marriage contravenes a woman's right to equality with men, and can have such serious emotional and financial consequences for her and her dependents that such marriages ought to be discouraged and prohibited." Mariam Abba portrays men's irresponsibility by using their sexual instincts. She also shows that to succeed in life, women should identify themselves and also trust in themselves to overcome these challenges. In showing the importance of women, their role in bringing up families, and keeping them together in time of tragedy is clearly brought out in the novel. This still is a powerful expression of the unnoticed voice of the previously silent women in Africa. For women in Senegal, it seems to always be a competition. You never know the woman your husband could marry next, in hopes maybe you can prevent him from finding another wife. Marian Diallo explains his challenge.
Men are like children. When they get home, you have to have dinner ready for them. You have to be dressed up and play with them. You also have to excite them. A good perfume, that's what a woman knows. That's what she puts on at night. This necklace is the Yalyeli. It's what keeps men. If you don't want your husband to go off looking for another woman, you put this on at night and some underwear like this. You see? This is what you put on. And men like this, to be given pleasure. And if you don't give them pleasure, they'll go off with another woman.
Ba is calling on women to take responsibility for their lives throughout the novel. The strong exploration of feminism is perhaps what makes the novel a strong voice for the troubled women in Africa. The woman is troubled by culture and by virtue of her position. Ramatule's friend rejects this, and she slowly realizes she cannot look to her culture for much. Over time, more and more women are beginning to support Ba's view.
Aminata, a divorcee who was involved in an 18-year polygamous marriage, says,
"Polygamy violates the principle of equality, promotes gender disparity, and compromises women's progress in society, and it's getting worse in Senegal." Like Ba, Aminata hopes to unite women who are affected by the unfairness in their relationship. Ba wants women to take a stand and to become familiar of how strong and independent they can be. Mariam Abba once said, "Books knit generations together in the same continuing effort that leads to progress. They enable you to better yourself. What society refused you, they granted." So, with the help of so long a letter, Senegalese women can begin to acknowledge their values. And all Ba can hope for is for these women to make a change and to prove their worth.